one of our longtime partners, has nothing to do with his age. It's a longtime partner and fantastic partner that has been helping people find money in franchising forever. To help get your franchisees money so they can buy your franchise, but also helping some of you that want to join Franchise Genesis become a franchisor. He's going to help you talk about how he can help get you money to do that as well. Ralph Nilssen. This is one. Thank you, Ralph.
Appreciate it very much. And a clicker, perfect. So yesterday I was in Orlando, and I was at a conference of SBA lenders. And listening to them with the half-point interest rate decrease that the Fed just gave to us was a fascinating exercise. So before I get to that, let me tell you, my name is Ralph Nilssen. I'm with Guidant Financial. I've been with Guidant for the last 8 years. We have literally helped finance hundreds of franchises through the franchise consulting company and through others like them just in the last year or two. We do a lot in the franchise space. When you're thinking about franchising, how your candidates get financing is something that needs to be top of mind. And it depends on what their goals are and what the amount that they need to invest is. So when you're talking about small business lending, a small loan is under $250,000. That's a small one. For me, that gives me indigestion, okay? But that's a small one. And there are different strategies that you need to think about. Do you have somebody who wants to own just one location and they're good? Do you have an empire builder? Someone who wants to buy 1, 2, 3, 4 and open them in rapid succession? Do you have somebody that wants to start with one but reserve the right to open more later? And every single one of those situations takes a slightly different strategic methodology to financing. So one of the books, and we were just talking about a bunch of different books, I like the Stephen Covey, Begin with the End in Mind. And understand what your candidate's goals are. And one of the benefits of being here at this Franchise Genesis Summit is that you are being introduced and exposed to the various partners that you will need to have as you franchise. Financing has got to be top of mind. I would love for you to use my company, but at the same time, pick a company. Because we want you to be experts in franchising your business, not experts in financing. And I'll tell you, my wife is a franchisor for a very large franchise. And what she tells me all the time is, I don't want anything to do with financing. I want to find the right candidates for my system. I'll let you talk to them about financing. So, my goal here today is to give you an idea a little bit about who Guidant is, what we do. I'm going to give you a high level of 2 different strategies, 2 of the most common strategies that we utilize to help people finance, and then give you an idea of some of the tools that we can offer and help you so that you can best communicate to your candidates what's out there, what's available, what they need to know. So, real quick, Guidant Financial, we have helped finance over 30,000 businesses in the last 20 years. We have secured over $4 billion in funding. We have helped create over 85,000 jobs. Those are top 4 strategies that we employ. Curious, how many have ever heard of a rollover for business startup? Okay, a couple people. We'll come back to that one. SBA loans, everybody's heard of those? Yeah, yes, yeah. When you have the government's budget to market, it helps. Term loans, short-term, zero collateral loans, higher interest rates, but easier to qualify for. And of course, a portfolio loan, which is more of a specialized product. So let's talk real quick. I'm going to just move past this one and go right over into rollovers for business startups. Now, this is not my name or my acronym. This is a wonderful federal government at work, which tells me that, you know what? They're about as good at marketing as the IRS is. Okay? When they call a strategy a ROBS, not a good sign, okay? All right. So what is a ROBS? It is a method that allows people to invest up to 100% of their retirement into themselves, into their business without taking a taxable distribution. Think about this for a second. If you have retirement funds, where can you invest them? Because everybody thinks, right? Stocks, bonds, mutual funds. Yeah. You can actually invest in precious metals, you can invest in gold, you can invest in timber, you can invest in so many different things, but the financial advisors make money when you invest in stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, so that's what they tell you to invest in. But when you are a business owner, cash is king. So you want to preserve your cash. Has anybody ever seen a business go out of business for being too liquid? Right? No. So this strategy works very well for people who want to preserve their liquidity, who want to not have an interest payment, a debt payment every single month and pay interest on it. Because right now, even with the rates just coming down, you're talking a 10.75% interest rate over 10 years on an SBA loan. It's high. So this strategy allows you to do that. So again, business owners, coming up a little short on a down payment or an equity injection on a loan. Perhaps they're a little light on what's called post-closing liquidity. And these are terms that you're going to get very used to just kind of throwing around, because post-closing liquidity is, hey, I've got a loan. You mean I got to have money after the loan's closed? I've got to be liquid? Yeah. Yeah, because business lending does not work like consumer lending at all. Those are the type of plans that work. But to my point, business lending works very different, because in consumer lending, I look at somebody and I say, hey, I've got an 800 credit score. What do I pre-qualify for? That's not how it works with business lending. Business lending always reminds me of somebody in the back of a pizza shop, big pinky ring on, okay? And it looks at you and you say, well, how much can I qualify for? And they go, well, how much do you need? Depends. How much can I get? What's the business? Not sure yet. All right. So it just goes back and forth and back and forth. It's a real difficult thing. So the ROBS is really helpful, because anybody who has one of these type of accounts can do a ROBS. How does it work? Very simply, we form you two different entities, a corporation and a 401k retirement plan. Most of you have a 401k retirement plan with a previous employer or with a current employer, but now you're the employer. So you set up a corporation, you set up a retirement plan, and you take those retirement funds, whether it's one retirement fund or multiple retirement funds, and you roll them into the new 401k plan that we just created for you. Now that's not a taxable event, because I can roll from one qualified or pre-tax plan to another pre-tax plan, no issue whatsoever. So I roll it into my new retirement plan, and then all I do is I purchase stock in my C corporation. Every corporation has stock. Who owns the corporation? The stockholders. So I purchase stock in my new corporation. The corporation gives stock to my retirement plan, and all of a sudden my retirement plan is a shareholder in my new corporation. How much tax have I paid? 0. Have I paid any early withdrawal fees? No. Is this a loan that I have to pay back? No, it's an investment. But instead of investing in Bill Gates' old corporation, you're investing in your corporation. Yes?
So if I'm on the phone with a franchisee prospect, they're low on funds, I recommend this. How long is this process for them to go through and ROBS? Such a dumb acronym.
Oh, it's a horrible acronym.
How long is that process roughly?
Yeah. If they're responsive to us, we can get this done usually in about 3 weeks. Okay. 3 to 4 weeks. Now, I'm going to give you a caveat, because I cannot control states, and there are certain states that sometimes take 2 months just to get a C corporation filed.
California.
Actually, California is great. Yeah. For the first time ever. Yes.
Doesn't that offer you some protection too, because it's in a retirement fund?
There is protection, and there's a couple different types of protection. One, C Corps offer protection because it is a completely separate entity from you. It's not a pass-through corporation. It's a completely separate entity. On the retirement funds, though, here's the question I think you're asking. What happens if your business goes out of business and you have this money invested? Do you have to pay it back? No, because it operates under the same principles as investing in the stock market. So I buy a stock, the stock drops in value, and the business goes out of business. What happens to my investment? Poof, it's like white in the snow when it melts, right? But I'm not on the hook for it because that was a poor investment. On the flip side, let's say that business goes up in value. And when I sell that business, the value goes back to the shareholders, and that was a good investment. So it works both ways. It's just investing in the stock market principally, except it's not with a publicly traded company, it's with your privately traded company. And this can work for the franchisor. When you're starting a franchise, it can work for franchisees.
So Ralph, if they do it that way, when they make profit, they cannot take that profit, right? It goes back into their 401k plan, right?
So, great question. So if the franchisee wants to take profit, they can't. It just goes right back into the 401k plan. No. Because I can be paid as a W-2 employee by a corporation because I'm taking a salary. Yeah, absolutely. Because this is all business is transacted in the C Corp. Now I'm going to give you.
But if you keep it in there, it's tax deferred.
So, okay. Wow, you guys are great, by the way. I'm loving the engagement here. All right, give me 1 second. So think about it this way. All business is transacted in your C corporation, right? You're paying your bills. And that's the beauty about having a corporation is because as a consumer, what happens? We get paid, we pay taxes, and then we pay our bills with the money that's left over. But in a corporation, you get paid, you pay your bills, and then you pay taxes on what's left over, right? Now, all that money's in the corporation. At the end of the year, you've made a profit. You've got extra money in it. What can you do with it? There's a couple of things you can do. You can pay it out in a bonus. You can reinvest it in the business. Or you can pay a dividend back to the shareholders.
But it's a C Corp, right?
But it is a C Corp.
So, I mean, that's like 20%.
Flat rate, 20%. Yeah. S Corp, say it again? Yeah, so great question. You're buying shares in the C Corporation. It's illegal for more than 5% of a retirement plan to own shares in an S Corp. And an LLC doesn't have shares, it has member units. So C Corp is the only legal entity you can use. All right?
It's actually a great model if you're trying to expand and grow because you can retain cash and only pay the 20% on it without having to pay distributions every year with an S Corp, which are much higher.
Yeah.
Since if you grow, what about the capital gain?
What about the capital gains?
It's deferred?
So here's the thing. I'm not doing this. They're asking me the questions. So great question. What about the capital gains? What happens when you pay capital gains on an investment? When you sell it, right? Your retirement plan has invested in your C Corp. You're transacting business in the C Corp. This is no different than buying Apple stock, and Apple every year transacts business, but you're holding the stock. You pay taxes when you sell. So when the business sells, the money goes back to the shareholders. The retirement plan doesn't pay taxes until when? You withdraw the funds. So you're using pre-tax cash to invest in your business, allowing it to grow. So there's a lot of power here that you can harness. For the sake of time, no, I appreciate the questions, and I'll be here tomorrow too. But just to give you an idea of the tax savings that are there, and I just use the state of Texas because there's no income tax or no state tax there. This is a pretty powerful tool to leverage pre-tax savings. Because let's be real, you can either invest those savings in somebody else's company, you can invest them in your company, but what you can't do with it is buy groceries. So that's why we love this strategy, because it allows you to retain the funds to buy groceries with while you're building your business. Because sometimes it takes a little bit longer to get profitable than you think. And to have extra cash on hand is never a bad idea. So I think we've covered most of this. It's a cash rich, it's debt free, you don't have to pay it back.
Can't you borrow against it, like borrow against the shares? Like if you have enough capital within that C Corp, you can borrow against the shares. That's how Elon Musk bought, Twitter and all that, right?
So that's a portfolio. So he goes, can you borrow against the shares? You can, but not in this strategy. That's a portfolio loan strategy. It's having shares in a publicly traded company and being able to borrow against those shares for cash. Only publicly traded because it's, you look it up, it's also called a leverage line of credit. It's a great strategy. It's a very, very powerful strategy, but this is not, you're actually you're investing in your company. Debt financing, and I'm just going to skip over that because that did not translate well at all. But this is about how clear SBA lending is. I'm just going to tell you.
It looks like Nick's Greek math.
Yeah. That was the basis for SBA lending right there. Oh, that's great. Here's what I would tell you. Up front, get to know your franchise candidates because you are entering usually into a 10-year marriage, which is longer than most marriages here in the United States. But it is a long-term relationship, so you want to know a little bit about them and can pass that on to my team. What kind of capital do they have? We want to know their liquidity because guess what? That's what banks want to know. How liquid are they? What's their credit score? We can actually run their credit score. They can run it themselves. What's the capacity to pay back the loan? Hey, I've quit my job. I've got no income. I've got very little savings. And by the way, I want to invest $300,000 into a franchise. How are you going to pay that back? With the profits of the franchise. While I believe you, the bank may not, because they're in the business of making money and they're very, very good at it. Character. Now, this is what I will tell you on character. The key to an SBA loan is disclosure. It is not being perfect. Okay? You know that stupid little DUI you had back in college when you made that bad decision? Just disclose it up front. It's much easier that way, and they don't really care if it's been about 3 years or more. Okay? Even if the records are sealed, everything's public. And then collateral. Just write this down. SBA lending is a minimum of 10% down. However, you will very rarely find a bank willing to do 10% down. That's the minimum SBA requirement. And it's much like the SBA says you can have a minimum credit score of 640. No. 690 to 700. You will not find a bank willing to go to 640. Same thing with collateral. 10% down, usually 20, 25. 30. Be prepared. Post-lending liquidity. They want to see that you have cash after the fact. So with that, we just provide a 10-step solution at Guidant Financial. We collect the minimum amount of documents, do a temp check with the banks that we work with, see if they're interested. If they're interested, they let us know. 90-95% success rate if we follow our process. And we'll let you know, listen, the best thing you can do is have a fast no rather than a slow yes. Let's get to know as quickly as possible and find out what we can and what we can't do. A lot of people combine the two. I'm going to get the 20% down on the SBA loan coming from my ROBs, and then I'm going to get the rest financed with the bank. Great. But if I'm empire building, that is one of the best ways to do it. Because on my first location, I put the very little bit down. I have the SBA come in, they finance the rest. On the second location, I've got money left over to be able to finance that myself with the profits from the first business. I don't have to wait for the bank to approve it. Again, order of operation. I'm going to fly through this pretty quick, but what we do is we provide you with tools that allow your candidates to feel confident when they talk to us. We'll give them a pre-qualification tool. Is it a phenomenal tool? No. But it makes them feel confident that they can because this is what you could qualify for. Talk to somebody. Let's find out for sure. Let them know and just let them know who's going to be their contact. We have an online portal. You can log in. Anybody you refer to us, you can see where they're at in the process. What's going on, what's happening. It's at your fingertips. You would have a dedicated person assigned to you that this is your individual here at Guiding Financial. They're your quarterback. Nobody specializes in everything. So you've got one person to talk to. They're going to coordinate all aspects of the financing. Fly through here. Every time we have a meaningful conversation with your candidates, we send you an email letting you know what we talked about. The worst thing to be is uninformed with what's going on with your candidates when you give it to a partner. And so we want to partner with you by keeping you informed. So when a call happens and there's a meaningful conversation, out goes the email to you. On top of that, we're going to help you with customizing PDFs, little brochures, little something that you can give to people and say, hey, go talk to this person, go talk to this company, they know what they're doing, here's your contact. And then finally, every Friday, you get an email update on every single one of your candidates that are in process with us. All right? We've been doing this for a while. If your candidates want, we will also help them with bookkeeping and tax services, payroll services, HR services, so that they have one company that they talk to about all the things that business owners got into business not to do. Because I have never known a business owner that wanted to do more paperwork. Ever. Yeah. What in human resources? Most of the human resources, depending on the level of service, is just information to help them to make the right decision. Most people don't go into business and know what FMLA is. All right, they don't know how to handle a termination properly. All right, lawsuits are a thing. We want to make sure that we're doing things correctly, that you have resources available to you, and that you can access them quickly. And if you want to, talk to somebody about it who is a professional in that area, so you don't have to hire an HR manager. Okay? The nice part is also, I will say this, when you use us for accounting and tax, if you want to build it into your system, you can have a downward view of all your franchisees' health. If you require it, you can go down and see, well, how are they doing? Where are your problem issues, problem areas? Because it all reports back up to you and you can see what's happening in the books. Again, you are in control. This is your business. And you are inviting others to be a participant with you. All right. My name is Ralph Nilssen.